Hello everyone, I'm Raf, co-founder of Asblock and host of NCNG No Chain No Gain. Welcome to NCNG Talks, our new show where we meet smart people from the blockchain world and talk about what made them smart. If you've ever been to a crypto event in Bangkok, you will easily recognize our guest of the day. We'll talk about her projects, her obsessions, her evolution, from being a police officer to the most super active crypto founder. She's one of the faces of the Thai crypto scene and the founder and CEO of Gather Beyond. Let's welcome Pichapen.
From Gather to Gather Beyond, my background has always been marketing. So it kind of like a thorn to have a brand that's always, this is how it's spelled, Gather with the 3 and then R, right?
Yeah.
So that's the marketing point of view. Secondly, I'm always community first. I don't see community as numbers. Some people treat community as like user number, so statistics for them to get fundraised. I never see community as that. I feel like they're all humans like us, right? Because we also treat it as community. Whether you're Pichapen community, you're builders community, you are not just a number on that dashboard. You know, you have lifestyles. You like to eat this food, you like to travel, you may be like more athletic than other people. And when people label user as a number, you just basically ignore everything else and you're not able to maximize. So just to give you a perspective, when people level a gaming deal, which is a community of gamers that play to airdrop, right? Farmers, grinders, they forget that these users are late night gamers, late night owls that love to play games. While doing that, they have ordered fast food. You know, they may be into Red Bull, right? And they love to use Discord because XYZ. So when you look at them in the perspective of like a person, you're able to tap them into like, this guy is qualified for McDonald's. This guy is qualified for Red Bull. This guy is qualified for a massage voucher, you know? So we wanted to expand that into like the untapped, right?
Okay.
And repurpose the leads that we have. When I say community first, this is the approach. I really analyze them in what they are good at, what they are receptive, what their interest is about. Now, going back to how I started Gather, I've been in the space in 2017. So I've been through a couple cycles already, and I've seen the ugly side of crypto, which is, you know, how people are not accountable for anything. We have stages where a lot of founders are anon, right? Because they don't want to deal with the backlash. But a lot of time it's also cash grab and they don't have to deal with consequences. We see some people getting held accountable now, but it's not enough. And not enough in the sense that if you compare it with Web2 companies, those people will be behind bars the first day, you know, and they would be banned. It would not be acceptable. Instead, in Web3, we give trophies and eyeballs and spotlights to these people because, hey, good on you, you're able to rug and make people your exit liquidity. It's so wrong. And it's so wrong. It shouldn't be, you know, like there's so many people, I don't want to name them, but you've seen the guy who clearly always involved in meme coin launch, right?
Yeah.
And people treat liquidity like it's a musical share, you know. If you really analyze into like the user side of things, it's hard to earn money. Some people like loan their house, you know, get a mortgage, sell their cars, get out of university because they see this as an opportunity, and opportunity is so important. Now, so why I brought up this certain words is because we're able to help them now, right? When I found Gather, I wanted to force accountability in a small little way. That's why Gather was always like Web3 reviews. So you can treat it as a Google review of Web3. We create a map of what is legitimate and what is not. And that's called trust scoring. Simply put, we allow people to come in and let other people know what they're bullish and bearish on. So I have a couple of things in my bags. I have NFTs, I have meme coins, I have stable coins, I have you know, gaming NFTs and so on. I post about it because I believe in it, right? Or I post about it because I hate it and no one hears me. And it's the little guys that contribute. So small 50,000 small little guys is 50,000 user, can't be ignored. But this guy will never get acknowledged because if they post on Discord, they're going to get banned, right? If they post on Twitter, they don't have enough visibility. The algorithm doesn't push their post. No one gets hurt, right? When it's actually real contribution that help balance the space and putting the guys that the bad guys accountable. So I created that platform, and has what I have harvest is actually this trust scoring, where we are able to use it to develop a new layer of trust, right? Why trust is so important is because we're in an AI era now, and a lot of things are driven by the algorithm and the engine that we don't understand. And some people are very scared, right? Scared that they're going to get their job taken away by AI, scared by the technology, scared by being front run by the technology. And but I really believe that we should not treat AI as a competitor. We should use it to uplift ourselves, right? And so going into that sense, when integrated AI into trust scoring, it's actually allow us to come up with a better and more efficient tool to help you analyze your partner, right? Analyzing partner might sound very distant, but it's actually what we're doing right now. We're vibe checking. I like you. I want to hang out with you, but I don't know if I want to do business with you, right? And so this trust scoring is what we use as a foundation to develop two things. One is Superconnector, which is the agent. We call it plug and play agent. We have a group chat, let's say three of us, you, me, Ben, or Kevin. It's called group chat, right? When you invite the agent in, it's plugged in and then play, which means you can start monetizing your group chat and turn it into a community. So you can gamify it. You can continuously bringing in rewards. So continuously incentivizing the member, whether to grow the community, whether to bring in deals. And these things, it's so tedious and it's time consuming and it takes so much of community owners. I have dozens of community that came to me and said, Pisha, how do we monetize our communities? The fun fact is 90% of community dies within the first year. And without the right system, the right approach to monetize, right? And the monetization needs to come from either the owner or passionate community member. And it's a waste, you can't just run these things by just being passionate, and unless it's kind of entwined with your lifestyle and your daily activities, right? So if I'm like a full-time scientist, I can't run a community parallel with hope that everyone is as passionate as me. So the life cycle, especially for Web3, it's very short. Now, by integrating our agent, it takes away that responsibility from the owner into something that can automatically grow, can automatically source you incentives that match with your interests, your goal, your community nature, or like your collective desires. And it's compliant because it's opt-in, so it's not going to be like annoying pop up.
Okay.
And secondly, it evolves, right? So what we're seeing now in the AI space, frameworks or data sets do not evolve. It has limited duration or like the certain set. So you will see a couple of flaws in the current model or framework. Agent hallucinates a lot. They get overwhelmed. And that mistakes that they make, they can't correct themselves. By putting in agent inside the chat, they learn in the most human, organic form of conversation. They can learn about mistakes. They can learn about making mistakes and then correcting themselves. They learn human interaction and expectation. So what it's becoming is a new standard of interaction or coordination between human to agent and agent to agent. And it is applicable to MCP, which is a standard that people uses right now to create agent, right? It's applicable for any framework. It's applicable for Web2 businesses, and it helps things more precise. You can use trust scoring to vet any partnership that you were dealing with. You can use it to create a communication layer business, SaaS, even helped use it to develop robots, and so it really opened up a lot of opportunities. Now, in terms of deals, right? I mentioned earlier, it doesn't need to be Web3. So that's why we're like, well, if we're not looking at community as Web3 gaming guilds, then it needs to be beyond Web3. And that goes to the point of like gathering beyond Web3. Um, we took away the three because we believe that it should be beyond Web3. That's really how we bridge worlds, right? With the resources that we have. And my company in Singapore was first registered or incorporated as Gather Beyond. So it seems like the right move. When we make announcement for Superconnector, it's actually one of the first product that we have in the pipeline, but we don't want to distract people with all the stuff that we're building. This layer is just so crucial and it's going to be much more relevant as day passes, right? Um, Now I can give you more details of our use cases, but let me share you the stage where we're at right now. Moving fast has always been some of the things that I try to enforce in the team. Um, we have slowed down to focus on revenue, and we have generated some revenue already. It's just not the right, the original approach that I had and what I share with Ben and how I got the batch as well. So I'm like a little bit like concerned of how we're going forward, like, being proudly presenting you guys, but then like changing our directions and so on, right? So the business model is no longer Web3 Google review. No, obviously it's going to be a layer of trust, a layer of coordination. It's actually SaaS model, freemium model, and like obviously it's going to be SDK API integration into other ecosystem and other tools, right? That is definitely much further away. The most important two things that's going to be revenue focused for us is the freemium. People pay to be able to unlock more features. And then the SaaS model is basically project module on our platform, which then we're changing from gather.core to gatherbeyond.com. And all this announcement is going out today, tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
And I'm also launching the token this weekend.
Okay, well, everything is happening this week, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bitcoin is already 104, right? I
It's
mean, ETH is
one
picking up.
check. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a small company, you can try really, really hard to capture attention, but you really need to ride with the wave because, I mean, even airplanes or kites need waves, right, to fly higher. I don't mean to sound cliche, but we all have limited resources. Resources is not just money, it's also time, it's also the team effort, right? And I had a really long conversation with my team where like I actually apologized to them and said, you know, you guys have been very patient with the company's direction, but I can't fail you and say like, oh yeah, let's wait and see. It needs to stop and we need to just launch. So we're actually collaborating with Virtual's protocol to be able to launch this agent. And it's actually long-term token. It's not like the pump and dump, right? So we don't have to. Yes, of course, it's a new battlefield for us, but we have a lot of things in the pipeline. Website is up, partnership is going to go out like tomorrow, and we have the mission coming today. So it's all orchestrating.
Okay.
So the layer that we're building that I mentioned that can work with MCP is called AEO1, which is the first version of agent orchestrate agent engine orchestration level. So it means that we really orchestrate to get things sorted. And so I feel, you know, this is the time to really go out there to explain what we are doing instead of just hiding and fixing everyone else's problem, right?
Yeah.
So the tool is going to really be useful with both communities, plug and play, monetize right away. For project, save so much money from, like unnecessary spending. I mean, 85% of their airdrop is
Yeah,
waste, so wouldn't it be better if you can spend that 85% to the right people that will be your loyal fans that will shield you because they believe in you, instead of like, farmers, KOLs that will dump right away the minute that they unlocked, right?
but when you do, let's say, the ecosystem built around the Gather Beyond, how do you see a bit the pieces working together? Like Superconnector, you mentioned, is one of the products, but does that
Mm-hmm.
there will be in the future other products
Yeah.
adding up?
Yeah. So it's memory layer, right? So it's training. It's like going into a company, you get trained, right? So you use that module to train any other agents that get uh designed or trained, right? And then that can be forever whatever output for different stacks, like accountant, factory, aerospace, right? The agent really need to learn how to orchestrate better and coordinate with humans, which is commander, prompter, and then evolved. Otherwise, you're back to square one every day, right? So if you use like, I don't know what engine you're using, but basically, if it's make mistake, it doesn't mean that you correct it and then it's not going to make mistakes again, right? So basically, we use that as a foundation of it, of things, right? Trust scoring is very important because it's a unique model that we have that help you with whatever. So when we have that, it comes into like the foundations of anything. You have a trust protocol in a agent centric economy, right? Which is very unique. So you can create okay, one of the things we're building is a wallet, a wallet that rewards based on behavior. And it's actually non-crypto wallet. And we can do that because we have trust scoring system and we have this layer, right? So it can be, like different kind of product or innovation on the foundations that we have. Now, the scraping the technology side of things, in terms of distribution, it is also a distribution layer, right? The plug and play you're tapping into at the moment with the three platforms we're integrating into is 200 plus to more than 200 million unique communities. That's 1.4 billion users, you know and different market, different languages, translated real time, right? So that's a new layer, and you can push anything. You can push anything because it's opt-in. They're all receptive of what you have to say. You just have to know if it's the right approach, and you just have to make sure that they trust you. And so I give you a few words, right? Trust, scoring, right? Coordination, orchestration. And these are going to be so important with the agent-centric economy that we're going through right now at this stage. Trust, for example. Do you trust an AI agent to trade $1 million, which is your hard-earned money? Of course not, right? But if you trust it because it's a clone and you spend like 3 years with it, of course, because it knows you in and out. I mean, even Visa is talking about this right now, having agent that can make purchases on your behalf, right? But you would give it a cap, like $50, $100, or so on, because you need to leverage and control the damages, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, stuff like that. It's very important, and I think we're in the age where there's a lot of content generations right now, whether it's ads, whether it's creator posts, faithless contents, deep
Yeah.
fake, right? So trust is becoming even more important. Now, scraping all the agent AI economy aside, do you believe in Facebook ads and Google ads anymore? Do you get annoyed with them because they keep popping up unnecessarily and you're not actually that interested anyway?
I think
Of course
everyone
not.
is.
Yeah. Do you watch, do you actually pay attention to billboards? Do you know what's happening outside and, like surrounding your building? It's noise, right? It's basically just noise, and you choose to ignore it. Do you trust in what KOL have to say if it's a new shaving cream or a new T-shirt or a KOL shilling you a new token? Of course not. You know that they're paid to do that, right? They paid to be in your face. So what's gonna happen with the next gen marketing, right? It's still going to be human to human. It's going to be someone presenting to you. And then we go back to like the most natural form of recommendation, which is how I started Gather. It's peer-to-peer recommendation, and it's through communities. Brands are going through users right now because they want authentic, real life kind of endorser that actually use their product instead of someone that looks like they came out of magazine but clearly not use their product, right? Like, you don't think Kylie Jenner is using Maybelline, of course not, right? But she's there. So what is the next gen marketing then? Who will be representing these brands? It's actually real people. It's the community members. It's real users, community members that will be best represent the brand because they're authentic. You would trust me to say you should buy this. Let's say you should buy this candy in Korea mini mart, and because I say so, even because you like, not because you like candy, but because I said I've been to Korea 5 times and I always have to buy this candy. It's probably true because I love Korea. But the minute you go outside and you see a mini mart, you're gonna go, and you're not going because I'm a model, right? You're not going because I'm on billboard. It's actually because I'm telling you, and we're spending an hour together. And that's actually what I honestly believe is going to be the next distribution layer. Secondly, you can't rely on search engine anymore. They cannot beat AI search. Everything is done now in ChatGPT, Perplexity, DeepSeek. So the next visibility will be through agents. So how do you get agent to endorse you? Let's say
That's a good.
Lastblock is trying to tackle a lot of projects to use your services for auditing, verification, certification. And if someone is searching, how do I get a good backer in crypto? If I'm starting a crypto project, how do I get a good backer? You want to be the top recommendation. Here's 5 steps to get a good endorsement in crypto if you're going to start a crypto project. Number one, contact Lastblock, right? You want to be recommended by an agent.
Yeah, of course.
And so how do we do that? How do we communicate with an agent to improve our search results? So actually this week there's a lot of contents around like okay, I don't know if you saw, but Google stock plumped because Apple said that Google said that the next generation of search is going to be done through AI instead of Google, and the stock went down like crazy, right? It's like a rug
Yeah, yeah, of
project.
course, of course.
So it's actually coming. But how do you communicate with an agent like, hey, don't forget to endorse me or recommend me by others, right? So we have two distribution. One is through communities and one is through agents. And our layer is already there.
Okay.
And so without all this, without all the stuff that we're building, we at the basic creating a new next gen marketing tool that capture distributions through agents and communities.
Okay, but because I believe you have a career in marketing that brought you to this knowledge as well. When did you have the click of, okay, now I've been using so far everything that's existing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's sustainable. I think there's something that's gonna change, and I want to somehow be part of this change. Like, what was the click for you to think I want to do my own thing that I believe is gonna be I would say the marketing for tomorrow.
Okay. Well, this is a really good question. Thank you for asking me that. Um, Man, I feel really old because it's like all the changes in the space that you have seen you cannot chase. You will never you will never be able to outrun anyone if you always follow, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I love Gather model from the start, but it's so hard to compete with other projects that have the hype. You know, the hype can come from like having a lot of money they fundraise and they can afford to build sustainable relationship with KOLs, right, and chillers. But and that's very disheartening for me because I know that I'm not here for a short term, right? And I'm like, why am I not getting enough support and eyeballs? So a lot of people are like, well, you need to have the right meta, right? And you need to be fast, and then you need to be hype enough. And I don't know who decide what's hype and what's not, you know? So that was one thing that made me feel actually in December after DEF CON, I went into like a really bad depression, like burnout, you know, because I have been active, like so active in activation, campaign and so on, but I went all in that I didn't know that it would give me like a full stop. A full stop as in like, no, I don't want to go out anymore.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to talk to people. And I felt that was because market was picking up. Trump won election and the market was picking up. Bitcoin went over 100 for the first time. And we saw so many people making money from like putting in 0.5 so you make like $800,000. And I'm like, you know, like how do you compete with that? You know, Gather model has always been like collectively contributing, but how do we get people to contribute, right? So that's one thing when I thought for the first time, not sure with my approach. You know, I can be so passionate, but people are not as passionate as me until I prove myself, you know. So that's one thing. So I decided to look into like what's happening in space and yeah, I started reading a lot about like how things were shifting, right? So in the space for crypto, that's one thing when I said the market's picking up, AI was not a hot thing until virtuals came along. And when virtuals came along, they make it so easy for people to deploy agent, right? And I was so against it at first. I'm like, well, you know, this is ridiculous. Like how are we going to use this in our, you know, in our operations and so on. But not being against it doesn't mean that you should ignore it, right?
Yeah. No. I mean,
So yeah. So I learned about like how, you know, like how people are using AI for different approaches. And as I mentioned, my background is marketing. So I obviously want to experiment different things around marketing side of things. But, you know, when you use AI and you try to compete with AI, you will lose. There's no argument in that. You will definitely lose. But if you use it in the ways that it complement and it empowers people, you will win because you have people and AI working together, right? And so that coming back from the community side of things, community get abandoned a lot when project doesn't succeed, right? Or when the incentive is no longer there. So how do we do that with the right approach that um still wrapped around our vision and mission on Gather, which is to empower people. I give people voice. You know, I let them have a platform that they can voice against things or for things. And you know, how do we help them monetize, right? Monetizing can also be like in a way, if you look at it, the airdrop farmers, they're able to being incentivized is also like
yeah. Yeah.
monetizing their fame or their activities, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do we do that? And so when I look into the AI agent and everyone was doing a forking the same framework and just wrapping around, changing the skin, changing the name, I thought like there must be a point of failure, you know, and there has been articles publishing around like everyone's using, I'm not gonna say it, but certain model, and there's a risk, right? And suddenly you have 200,000 models using the same framework that has a flaw,
Yeah.
right? So then I guess like my train of thoughts, it just evolved from like, oh, how do we explore this, to like, how do we fix this, right? And one of the things we have as great asset is we have always been working with communities. We have great supporters, ecosystem supports. We have always been fixing things for others, and they're all very receptive with what we have in mind that can automate things, save them time, save them costs. And I really believe that if we provide them solutions, like people are not gonna come to you if you like throw things in their face, right? Like, oh, hear me out. This is what I do. But if you present yourself as like, well, I'm a solution, they're always gonna be like, well, okay, sure, let's try this. And so we have been really fortunate to have great support. Like we have what we call mission pool instead of prize pool, is mission pool. We have a lot of people committed to contributing to the mission pool that we're building. And so that helps with the timeline when we decide to launch. And it helps us generate more, I guess, content or the learning module for the agent as we announce our launch, right? So yeah, so basically that's the journey, the mental journey.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and then the more you read about it, it's like a rabbit hole, really.
Yeah, but most people don't. I mean, most people don't read, and then the people who read most of the time read the first page. The one that says you use this pattern, you get this result. But as you said,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's very relevant in this case of with the AI. Like there's so many people using the same models, uh, even though it has been kind of exposed that there were flaws, that there were limitations, etc. They keep using it over and over and wrapping it in a
Yeah,
different way, and it's obvious that at some point one is going to crash, or like for a reason or another not going to work properly anymore, and then what do
yeah,
you do with all the rest?
yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly,
so in this case
exactly.
your bet is you just building something different, not to say better, and you wait for them to fail, basically, right?
Yeah, and it's very sad because we're doing the same thing over and over, just with different story and different tools, and then we're hoping for it to work.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant by like not chasing anymore, because we're just gonna get burned. And getting burned is, for me, it's not just financially but also like the team. I handpicked my team, every single one, and we have gone through stages of restructuring in order to like optimize, right, optimize our time and optimize our effort. And it would be a shame to waste all that we have just to chase someone else's playbook.
Yeah, I love what you say about handpicking the team, because I think that's a thing that most founders don't really talk about, is like how complicated it is to find the right people and how precious it is to have the right people.
So hard.
No, for real, for real, and especially when I mean, it's as you said, like you have very few people who understand the technology, and you have even more few people who understand even the essence of it. So finding some people who have the technicality to help you with something, and also the vision to understand what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
is so hard. So yeah, how did you do actually? Like how did you actually assemble the team that allowed you to create the tools that you had in mind?
How
It's
do I assemble the team?
yeah.
Um, well, I think we just fail a lot. Yeah. Like, I think, like I start with like I always start being very, very optimistic with things. And I think it's a good quality to have. But like, not and at first I wanted to be persistent. Like I wanted to insist on things done the certain ways, but eventually you just got to let go of things and let the team manage, like trust that they will be able to operate, trust that they will be able to make decisions instead of hand holding everyone. And then obviously not everyone's going to align with what you do, right? But you can tell pretty quickly if someone is there, uh, uncommitted, just to see if it makes sense for them. And we don't want those people in our team because there's a saying, right? I don't remember who said this, but basically you always want to run your team, your organization with A players, because the minute you settle for B player, they're going to hire C player. And then and then it's just gonna be like B, C, D. And then what you're gonna end up with is mediocre team players, because the A players are going to leave. They are going to be like, well, I don't want to work with you guys because I feel like I'm the one carrying all the load on my shoulder and you're just piggyback riding my work, right? And when you have a bunch of A players together, they create this self-policing interactions where you want to show up early because you genuinely enjoy working with this person and this team, right? It's intellectually stimulating. You feel like your contribution hurt, and you're actively looking for new solutions because you can see how your contribution, not just by money, but contribute to the team productivity, right? And the minute a B players walks in and start taking advantage of the team, that person will not last very long because the organization culture enforces that dynamic within the team, right? So a couple of people said this to me already, my mentor as well, but I feel like it's so true to witness this firsthand, and it does shift the culture. If you as a founder don't go into these details of like the dynamic between team members, it's gonna escalate in the sense that it becomes like a mole, like a bad apple that really spreads, right? So we go into like restructuring a couple of times, and from being optimistic to being very pessimistic. And if you don't perform, then you have to leave, because I don't need to convince someone to stay, really. Like if you're gonna be like 1 foot out, then just go. And so fortunately, like right now, the team that we have are all like, like very optimistic
A
and
players, A
very
players.
accountable. Yeah, they all like hardworking, very intelligent, very creative. I really believe in like, smart solution. Not everyone has to like be, like working to the bones, day and night,
Yeah.
25 hours a day in order to get things done, right? You can all be smart about it. We can be utilizing tools to be productive, and it doesn't mean being being in the office all day and night doesn't mean that you're contributing,
Yeah, it's
you
true.
know
It's true, and
yeah,
I think that that's one of the big conversation that we're having also on our side. With sure, we want to work hard, but we also want to work smart. So that's always
yeah,
there at the end of the day, you know.
right,
I have one last question,
yeah,
and I'm curious to have your take on this. But I heard on another podcast that you made that you started your career as I think a
police
police
officer,
officer, right?
yeah,
One thing
yeah,
you
it's true.
mentioned so many times today is this idea of accountability. Accountability, police
Yeah.
officer. Are you getting back to this I would say starting point of trying to keep things in order, like, or is it just
Oh my
random?
God. I love your questions. Everything you ask is like on point, and I really wish more people would ask me about this.
Okay.
It's really important to me to be accountable. I think it's basically human basic, like human decency, right? Like why say things if you're not gonna do it, right? In a way, you're really scamming people to say things and then not deliver, right? And white lies can become, like different types of uh pretense.
Yeah.
So I feel like, the space we're in, the industry we're in kind of allows that, because there's a lot of anons, there's a lot of people that hide behind PFP and not being able to hold them accountable, and it creates a culture where it's become an okay thing, right? Are we really going to let the world move towards that direction? Like when they're what they call it, the social engineering keeps getting more and more sophisticated, right? That's already so hard, and I feel like if all we want to do is to make money, then what are we going to become, right? Like no one really care about other people. It's actually, I don't know if you've seen Black Mirror.
Yeah.
I really think we're going towards Black Mirror, and it's really going to be, I think you already experienced it, like in the social context of like things on a day-to-day basis. People are more impatient with others. Very aggressive drivers. I mean, I went to Korea last year during KBW and I got dumped on the side of the road
Oh, wow.
from like angry taxi driver. Yeah, and I'm like, I completely have no idea what you're talking about, but like, why are you so angry? You know?
Wow.
So we see people are really impatient with others people. That's one thing, but like the accountability side is because we let people get away. And that's not okay with me, and it shouldn't be okay with you either. And I think come down to the basic, you can't control people, but in my social environment, if you do that, you shouldn't be accepted to be allowed in. We also, I think we make connections, networking and so on, right? Would you endorse someone like that? Of course not, because it looks bad on you, right? It's also my credibility. If I refer you to someone who, apparently embezzled $2 million, that guy already looked bad, but also looked bad that I referred that person to you, right?
Of course.
Would you want them to get more recommendation from me? Of course not. No.
Yeah.
So going back to what you asked, it's not just because I was in the police force. I really believe that it's like human decency that people should be accountable for their action, and it's okay to make mistakes, because at the time it seemed like the right move, right? But not willingly, like, I guess, not willingly direct people to certain things and then not acknowledge it, right? Like, I mean, we have a lot of KOLs that launched tokens and didn't know what they were doing, and then it just crashed. Like, that's fine, but like come out and say sorry, right? Because people bought it because of you.
Yeah.
So those are the basic thing. But the police force did help me sharpen or my beliefs, and I think that's not really the best thing that I got. Getting from my time in the police force is, like being more disciplined. I guess that's why I'm more resilient. Um, Waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning, like to train, right? And then like dealing with a lot of disappointment. The police force, especially in Thailand, uh, there's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of public scrutiny on things like, why didn't you arrest that guy? Why, but legally it wasn't possible, right? And then not being able to get opportunities because you're a female police officer. And then the coup happened. So like I really did thrive through the stages of, like in that previous life of like my career. But and I learned from it. I guess that's why I'm more resilient and more willing to pivot than other founders. But yeah, I mean, accountability, I think, should be the norm. It should not be like an okay or a choice.
Thank you for joining us on NCNG Talks. Make sure to check all the other episodes on Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify. Hope you enjoyed this one. Cheers.